The stellar Voyager drifted through the Carina sector, its crystalline hull refracting starlight in mesmerizing patterns. Captain Zariel, a being of pure energy contained within an environmental suit, monitored the ship's trading route with practiced ease. The Voyager's hold was full of rare minerals from the outer colonies, enough to sustain 3 systems for a standard cycle. Captain, anomalous readings at Vector 227, reported First Officer Kex, their tentacles dancing across the holographic interface. Mass displacement suggests a large vessel, but it's not matching any known signatures. Zariel's energy form pulsed with concern. The Carina sector had been peaceful for generations, protected by the Galactic Concordat's trade agreements. But recent reports of missing ships and mysterious sensor shadows had put every captain on edge. "Show me," Zariel commanded, their voice resonating through the ship's consciousness web. The main display shimmered to life, revealing a massive silhouette against the star field. The vessel was unlike anything in their database, sleek yet imposing, with angles that seemed to defy conventional space architecture. "It's human," whispered Navigator Trill, their crystalline form vibrating with anxiety. "I've heard stories." Before Zariel could respond, the unknown vessel vanished from their sensors. Panic rippled through the bridge crew. Disappearing ships were the stuff of nightmares in deep space. But seconds later, the vessel reappeared, much closer, its hull-bearing markings in the distinct angular script of human language. TDF-HYPRION. Merchant Vessel Stellar Voyager. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Force ship Hyperion. A calm voice transmitted across all frequencies. "You've entered a sector under temporary quarantine due to suspected pirate activity. Please state your cargo and intended destination." Zariel's energy form flickered with surprise. Humans were known for their military prowess, but direct encounters were rare. Most species knew them only through stories, tales of impossible victories against overwhelming odds, of ships that could rewrite the rules of physics, of a species that had evolved not through biological advancement, but through sheer determination and technological ingenuity. "This is Captain Zariel of the Stellar Voyager. We carry mineral ore bound for the Proxima trading hub. We were unaware of any quarantine." Zariel tried to keep their energy signature stable, projecting confidence they didn't feel. "Understood, Captain Zariel. Please maintain your current position while we conduct a standard scan. We've had reports of pirates using cargo ships as cover for weapons transport." Before Zariel could acknowledge, multiple energy signatures burst into existence around them. 3 pirate vessels decloaked, their weapons already charging. The lead ship, bristling with cobbled-together weapon systems, broadcast on an open channel. "Excellent timing, human." A gravelly voice sneered. "We've been waiting for one of your patrol ships to show up. Time to see if the stories about Terran warships are true." The Hyperion's response was immediate and unprecedented. Instead of raising shields or charging weapons, the human ship's hull began to transform. Sections shifted and realigned, weapon ports emerging from seemingly solid metal, and energy readings that defied the Voyager's sensors spiraled outward. "Stellar Voyager, please engage your emergency shields." Captain Chen's voice remained eerily calm. "This will be over quickly." The pirates opened fire, a barrage of plasma torpedoes and fusion beams converging on the Hyperion. But the human ship moved like nothing its size should, each maneuver precise and purposeful. Energy weapons splashed harmlessly against shields that seemed to exist in multiple phases of space-time simultaneously. The Hyperion's counterattack was surgical. Beams of coherent light, too focused to be natural, lanced out from its transformed hull. They didn't target the pirates' weapons or shields, but rather specific points that seemed arbitrary until the enemy ships began to drift, their systems shutting down in cascading failure. "Target vessels neutralize," announced Captain Chen. "Stellar Voyager, you're clear to proceed to Proxima. We'll handle the cleanup here." As Zariel's crew stared in amazement, the Hyperion launched what appeared to be small probes toward the disabled pirate ships. Each probe attached itself and began systematically dismantling the hostile vessel's weapon systems. "Captain," First Officer Kex reported, their tentacles trembling. "The human ship's energy readings. They're impossible. Their weapon systems alone are drawing more power than our entire fleet could generate." Zarl watched as the Hyperion efficiently secured the pirate crews, their precision speaking of countless similar operations. The stories hadn't done them justice. Humans hadn't just mastered space travel, they'd rewritten its fundamental rules. "Thank you, Captain Chen," Zarl transmitted. "We owe you a debt." "No debt necessary, Captain Zarl. Safe travels." The Hyperion's hull shifted again, returning to its deceptively simple configuration. As the stellar Voyager resumed its course, Zarl reflected on what they'd witnessed. The galaxy was changing. Humanity wasn't just another spacefaring species. They were protectors, guardians who had turned their mastery of war toward preserving peace. The story of the Hyperion's intervention would spread through the trading routes, joining the growing legend of humanity's warships. But unlike the tales of fear that had come before, this would be a story of hope, of a species that had learned to harness its potential not for conquest, but for the defense of all. News of the Hyperion's encounter spread through the Proxima trading hub like quantum fire. In the vast station's central chamber, beings from 100 worlds gathered to trade not just goods, but information about the increasing human presence in their sectors. The station itself was a marvel of cooperative engineering, a massive structure of intersecting rings and crystalline spires that housed millions of beings from across known space. Station Administrator Venexa, a being of pure thought housed in an advanced mechanical frame, observed the latest sensor data with growing concern. The arrival of 3 more human warships in nearby sectors had Venex's mechanical frame processed the tactical data in microseconds. The attacking fleet's formation was perfect, their approach designed to cut off all escape routes. But the human ships were moving too, taking up defensive positions that seemed to anticipate the enemy's strategy. "How can we assist?" Venexa asked, their decision made. Chen's tight smile spoke of battles yet to come. "Your station's sensor array is the most advanced in this sector. We need targeting data. Your traders know every hiding spot and debris field within 10 light years. We need tactical maps. And your shield technology." She paused, studying the station's crystalline architecture. "It's unlike anything we've seen. Together, we might have a chance." The next hours were a blur of activity. Human tactical officers worked alongside alien technicians, integrating systems that were never designed to cooperate. The station's crystalline shield harmonics were synchronized with Terran weapon frequencies, creating defensive capabilities that surprised even their creators. The first wave of enemy ships struck like a hammer, their weapons more advanced than anything the station had faced. But they found themselves hitting not just Terran shields, but a defense grid enhanced by alien technology. The Hyperion led the counterattack, its movements coordinated with smaller, faster ships piloted by species who understood local space in ways humans never could. "They're adapting," Chen reported, watching the enemy fleet's formation shift. "Just as we expected. But so are we." The battle became a dance of technology and tactics, each side learning and adjusting. But the defenders had an advantage the attackers hadn't counted on: diversity. Each species contributed something unique. Energy beings who could predict shield harmonics, crystalline entities who understood light and power in ways that defied traditional physics, and humans who had turned warfare into an art form. As the enemy fleet began to withdraw, their perfect formation shattered by unexpected resistance, Administrator Venexa turned to Captain Chen. "You knew this was coming. That's why your ships arrived when they did." Chen nodded, her attention still on the tactical display. "We've seen this pattern before. But knowing an attack is coming and stopping it are 2 different things. We couldn't have done this alone." The battle for Proxima Trading Hub would be remembered as more than just a victory. It was the moment when fear of human military might transform into something else: respect for a species that had mastered the art of war, but chosen to use that mastery in defense of others. As the all-clear signals echoed through the station's crystalline corridors, new relationships were already forming. The lines between human and alien technology began to blur, creating defenses that were stronger than either could achieve alone. The galaxy was changing, and at its heart was a simple truth. Sometimes the most powerful force isn't the ability to win a war, but the wisdom to know how to prevent one. The outer colony of New Haven lived up to its name, a sanctuary of light and life against the void of deep space. Its biodomes sparkled like dewdrops on the surface of an otherwise barren moon, housing refugees and pioneers from dozens of species. But today, the colony's tranquility was shattered by the scream of emergency sirens. In the colony's command center, Governor Lix, a bioluminescent being evolved from deep-sea creatures, watched with mounting horror as the long-range sensors painted a grim picture. The unknown fleet that had attacked Proxima Trading Hub had returned, stronger and more numerous than before. Status of the evacuation. Lix's voice rippled through the water-filled command chamber. 30% of non-essential personnel are aboard transport vessels, replied Emergency Coordinator Pell, their insectoid mandibles clicking with stress. But we need at least 2 more hours to complete the evacuation. They didn't have 2 hours. The enemy fleet would arrive in less than 30 minutes, their formation optimized for orbital bombardment. New Haven's modest defense grid wouldn't last 5 minutes against such overwhelming force. Governor, called the communications officer, their crystalline form pulsing with unexpected hope. We're receiving a transmission from the TDF Hyperion. Captain Chen is requesting permission to coordinate our defense. A hologram materialized in the center of the command chamber, showing Captain Chen's familiar figure alongside tactical displays. Governor Lix, we've analyzed their attack pattern. They're not just targeting your colony. They're trying to draw out our fleet, force us to commit our forces to a decisive battle. Lix's bioluminescence flickered with confusion. Then why defend us? If this is a trap, because that's what they expect us to think, Chen replied, a hint of steel in her voice. They believe we'll either abandon the colony to preserve our military strength or rush in unprepared and be destroyed. They don't understand how humans fight. The tactical display shifted, showing the positions of 5 human warships taking up defensive positions around New Haven. But they weren't forming the standard barrier pattern that alien tacticians had come to expect. Instead, they were spreading out, creating what looked like gaps in their defense. What you're seeing isn't a defensive formation, Chen explained. It's a killing ground. We've been studying their tactics since Proxima. They think in 3 dimensions. We think in 5. Before Lix could question this cryptic statement, the enemy fleet dropped out of hyperspace. Their ships were dark crystalline structures that seemed to absorb light itself, moving with an unsettling synchronization that spoke of a hive mind or advanced AI control. The human warships didn't react as expected. Instead of raising shields and preparing for a slugging match, they began what looked like a fighting retreat, their formations seemingly breaking apart under the enemy's advance. They're running, Pell exclaimed, mandibles twitching in dismay. But Lix, who had studied historical battles, recognized something in the humans' movement. No, they whispered, bioluminescence pulsing with sudden understanding. They're not retreating. They're hunting. The truth of those words became apparent as the enemy fleet pushed forward, pursuing what they saw as fleeing defenders. The human ship's erratic movements had a purpose. They were drawing the attackers into carefully prepared killing zones, where overlapping fields of fire turned space itself into a weapon. The Hyperion led the dance, its advanced hull configuration morphing to present different aspects to the enemy. Each time the attackers thought they had a clear shot, they found themselves firing at afterimages, while precision strikes from multiple angles shattered their formations. But the real surprise came when the enemy adapted, shifting to attack the colony directly. They didn't expect the defensive grid to reconfigure itself. incorporating human targeting algorithms with alien shield harmonics, a technology that hadn't existed until days ago. Now, Chen commanded, and the human ships executed a maneuver that defied conventional physics. They didn't just change position. They seemed to fold space itself, appearing simultaneously at multiple points around the enemy fleet. The attackers found themselves caught in a web of coordinated fire, their perfect formation becoming a perfect trap. In the command center, alien observers watched in awe as human tactical doctrine revealed its true nature. They didn't just fight battles, they rewrote the rules of engagement itself. Each ship operated both independently and as part of a greater whole, their actions synchronized yet unpredictable. Their ships, Pell observed, mandibles clicking in amazement. They're not just fighting. They're learning, adapting their tactics in real time. That's the difference, Lix realized, their bioluminescence pulsing with insight. Other species develop technology, and then train soldiers to use it. Humans develop technology specifically to enhance their natural combat instincts. The battle reached its crescendo as the enemy fleet, its coordinated strategy shattered by human unpredictability, began to break apart. Some ships attempted to retreat, only to find their escape routes predicted and blocked. Others fought on, but without their hive mind coordination, they fell one by one to precisely targeted strikes. When it was over, New Haven stood unscathed, its evacuation transports returning to their docks under the watchful eyes of human warships. The colony's defensive grid had held, strengthened by the integration of human and alien technology. In the aftermath, as damage reports and victory celebrations filled the communication channels, Governor Lix met with Captain Chen in person. The human commander looked tired but satisfied, her uniform showing signs of the intense concentration required to coordinate such a complex battle. You could have withdrawn, Lix noted, their bioluminescence forming patterns of gratitude and curiosity. Saved your ships for a more advantageous battle. Chen's smile held centuries of human military tradition. That's what makes us different. We don't fight to win battles. We fight to protect. Every civilian colony, every trading post, every refugee settlement is worth defending. Because that's what turns a military force into something more. A shield for those who need it. As news of the battle spread across the sector, the legend of human warships grew. But it was no longer a legend of fear. Instead, it became a story of hope, of a species that had mastered the art of war not for conquest, but for the preservation of life itself. The forge of battle had created something new, a partnership between humans and aliens that would reshape the galaxy's future. The grand chamber of the Galactic Concordat buzzed with activity, its crystalline walls reflecting the tension in the air. Representatives from 30 spacefaring civilizations gathered in emergency session, their various forms, energy beings, crystalline entities, biological constructs, and more, all focused on the massive holographic display at the chamber center. Admiral Sarah Chen, recently promoted after the Battle of New Haven, stood before the assembled council. Behind her, tactical displays showed the movement of the mysterious enemy fleet, now designated as the Void Swarm, as it pushed relentlessly through the outer systems. They're not just raiders or pirates, Chen explained, manipulating the holographic data with practiced ease. This is an invasion force, unlike anything we've encountered before. Their technology, their tactics, they're designed to exploit the weaknesses in our divided defense strategies. High Counselor Zareth, an ancient energy being whose form rippled with concern, leaned forward. You've faced them 3 times now, Admiral. What have you learned? They adapt quickly, learn from each defeat, Chen replied. But more importantly, they understand our divisions. They know that human warships can't be everywhere at once, that our different species have never truly coordinated our defenses. They're counting on that. The chamber erupted in overlapping voices as representatives debated. The success of human military vessels in recent battles was undeniable, but the idea of a unified defense force, combining the technologies and tactics of multiple species under human strategic command, was unprecedented. "Your ships are powerful, Admiral," noted Trade Minister Cole, their crystalline form refracting doubt. "But even they can't stand against this swarm alone. What exactly are you proposing?" Chen's expression remained composed, but her eyes carried the intensity of someone who had seen the future and knew what needed to be done. "We don't want to stand alone. Each of your species has unique capabilities, technologies that complement each other in ways we're only beginning to understand. The battle at New Haven proved what's possible when we work together." The holographic display shifted, showing a new type of vessel, a hybrid design that incorporated technologies from multiple species. "This is the future we're proposing. Ships that combine human tactical systems with crystalline shield harmonics, powered by energy being reactors, guided by the collective wisdom of all our peoples." A murmur of interest rippled through the chamber. The design was revolutionary, a perfect synthesis of different technological approaches. But more than that, it represented something that had never been attempted: true cooperation between spacefaring species. "The Void Swarm thinks they understand us," Chen continued. "They expect us to fight as we always have, separated by our differences, limited by our individual perspectives. But humanity has learned something in our relatively short time among the stars. True strength comes from unity, from combining our different approaches into something greater than the sum of its parts." The display changed again, showing tactical simulations of combined fleet operations. Human warships provided the backbone of strategic coordination, while faster alien vessels executed precision strikes. Crystalline ships projected overlapping shield harmonics, while energy beings provided real-time tactical analysis beyond anything artificial systems could achieve. "We're not asking you to submit to human authority," Chen emphasized. "We're asking you to join us in creating something new, a defense force that represents the best of all our civilizations." Governor Lix of New Haven, invited to speak based on their recent experience, added their perspective. Their bioluminescence painted patterns of conviction in the air as they spoke. "We've seen what human warships can do, but we've also seen something more important: their willingness to risk everything to protect others. They don't fight for glory or conquest. They fight because someone needs to stand between the innocent and those who would harm them." The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The Void Swarm was coming, their numbers growing with each passing day. But for the first time, there was hope, not just in human military might, but in the possibility of something greater. The next few days saw unprecedented activity across the sector. Shipyards that had never cooperated began sharing designs and technologies. Human tactical officers worked alongside alien strategists, combining their different approaches to warfare into new hybrid doctrines. The first joint training exercises were chaotic but promising. Human ships demonstrated maneuvers that seemed to defy physics, while alien vessels contributed capabilities that even humanity's advanced technology couldn't match. Slowly but surely, a true combined fleet began to take shape. Admiral Chen watched from the bridge of the Hyperion as the new fleet performed its first coordinated maneuvers. The sight was breathtaking. Hundreds of ships from dozens of species moving as one, each contributing their unique strengths to the whole. "They said it couldn't be done," commented her first officer, watching a crystalline vessel execute a perfect synchronized maneuver with its human counterpart. "That our differences were too great." Chen smiled, remembering the long journey that had brought them to this point. "That's always been humanity's greatest strength. Not our technology or our tactical skill, but our ability to bring people together, to find common ground in the face of adversity." As the combined fleet continued its exercises, news arrived from the outer systems. The Void Swarm had changed course, perhaps sensing the shift in the balance of power. They were gathering their forces for what promised to be a decisive battle. But this time, they wouldn't face divided opponents struggling to coordinate their defenses. They would face something unprecedented: a galaxy united, its different species working together in ways that would rewrite the rules of space warfare. The legend of human warships had evolved once again. They were no longer just powerful defenders or skilled tacticians. They had become something more important, the catalyst for a transformation that would ensure the survival of all spacefaring civilizations. The real battle was about to begin, and for the first time, no species would face it alone. The void between stars erupted with light as the largest fleet ever assembled in known space took formation. At its heart, the TDF Hyperion led a corps of human warships, their advanced hulls reflecting the distant starlight. Around them, vessels of every known spacefaring species moved in perfect synchronization, the result of months of joint training and technological integration. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the Hyperion's bridge, studying tactical displays that showed the approaching void swarm. Their numbers had grown exponentially, a dark tide threatening to overwhelm civilization itself. But for the first time, Chen felt something beyond determination. She felt hope. "All fleet elements, report status," she commanded, her voice carrying across the combined communications network. "Crystalline Division standing by," reported Commander Cole, their ship's formations creating overlapping fields of defensive energy. Shield harmonics synchronized with human weapon frequencies. "Energy being squadron ready," pulsed Captain Zareth, their consciousness spread across multiple vessels. "Real-time tactical analysis networks active." "Biomorphic strike force in position," clicked Battle Leader Pell, their organic ships moving with impossible grace, ready to execute infiltration protocols. One by one, each division reported ready. The combined fleet represented not just military might, but the triumph of cooperation over division. Every ship carried technologies and crew from multiple species, their different approaches to warfare blending into something entirely new. "Void swarm detected on long-range sensors," announced the Hyperion's tactical officer. "Their numbers. Admiral, they've gathered every ship we've encountered and more. This is their entire invasion force." The tactical display showed the truth of those words. Thousands of dark crystalline ships approached in perfect formation, their hive-mind coordination evident in every movement. They had adapted to every strategy used against them, learned from every defeat, but they had never faced anything like this. "All ships, execute Operation Unity," Chen commanded. "Remember your training. Remember why we're here. Together, we are stronger than any force that threatens us." The battle began with a display of coordination that would be studied for generations. Human warships led the charge, their advanced ECM systems creating corridors of tactical advantage through the enemy formation. Through these gaps streaked the faster alien vessels, their unique technologies allowing them to strike at vulnerabilities no single species could have identified. The Void Swarm responded with overwhelming force, their weapons capable of destroying any single ship with a direct hit. But they found their attacks scattered by crystalline shield harmonics, their targeting disrupted by energy being interference, their formations broken by attacks from angles they couldn't predict. "They're adapting," reported Kareth, their energy form pulsing with tactical data. "Attempting to isolate our forces, divide us back into individual species." "That's their mistake," Chen replied, a fierce smile crossing her face. "Show them what true unity means. Execute Pattern Prometheus." The combined fleet's formation shifted in ways that should have been impossible for such diverse ships. Human vessels seemed to blink in and out of normal space, creating phantom targets that confused the enemy's hive-mind coordination. Crystalline ships projected shield frequencies that turned the Void Swarm's own energy weapons against them. Biomorphic vessels released clouds of intelligent microorganisms that infiltrated enemy ships, disrupting their systems from within. But the true power of their unity showed in how these different tactics worked together. Human tactical systems coordinated everything in real time, turning what should have been chaos into a symphony of synchronized warfare. Each species' unique abilities enhanced the others, creating combinations the enemy couldn't predict or counter. The Void Swarm's perfect formation began to break apart, their hive mind overwhelmed by the complexity of fighting an enemy that refused to behave according to any known tactical doctrine. Ships that had never been defeated found themselves caught in overlapping fields of fire, their advanced technology countered by the combined innovations of multiple civilizations. Their central command ship is exposed, reported Commander Cole, their crystalline form vibrating with excitement. But their defensive screens are still too strong for any conventional attack. Then it's time for something unconventional, Chen decided. All ships, execute final protocol unity. The combined fleet moved as one, each ship contributing energy to a synchronized attack that had never been attempted before. Human weapon systems channeled power through crystalline matrices, amplified by energy being consciousness, delivered with biological precision. The resulting beam of pure energy transcended traditional physics, carrying within it the combined technological achievement of all spacefaring civilization. The Void Swarm's command ship, for all its advanced technology, couldn't withstand such an attack. As it broke apart, the hive-mind connection shattered. The remaining enemy ships, suddenly operating as individuals, found themselves easy prey for the coordinated tactics of the combined fleet. In the aftermath of the battle, as damage reports and victory celebrations filled the communication channels, Admiral Chen stood in the Hyperion's observation dome. The view showed more than just the scattered debris of a defeated enemy. It showed the beginning of a new era. They never understood, she said to the assembled fleet commanders, each present either physically or through holographic projection. They thought our differences made us weak, that our individual approaches to technology and warfare would keep us divided. Instead, those differences became our greatest strength. Humanity showed us the way, Governor Lix observed, their bioluminescence painting patterns of gratitude in the air. Not through superior technology or tactical doctrine, but through your willingness to reach out, to learn from others, to share what you knew. The legend of human warships had completed its transformation. What had begun as tales of fear, of unstoppable military might, had become something far more important. A story of unity, of different species learning to work together, of strength found not in overwhelming force, but in the power of cooperation. As the combined fleet began its victory formation, ships of all designs moving in perfect harmony, the galaxy looked toward a new future. The Void Swarm had sought to exploit division and fear, but they had instead catalyzed something unprecedented. A civilization where different species didn't just coexist, but truly worked together, their different approaches to life and technology, creating something greater than any could have achieved alone. The human warships that had once inspired terror now represented hope, not because of their power, but because they had shown the galaxy a better way forward. In the end, the greatest victory wasn't won through superior firepower or advanced technology, but through the simple yet profound recognition that true strength comes from standing together.